Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And I feel like I've kind of skipped an episode. If you're watching this today, it's probably, I think this is going to be live on Wednesday or Thursday this week. I typically would have had an episode on Sunday, and I'll give you a little insight into my schedule, my filming schedule. I typically do these videos one on Saturday afternoon and one on Sunday afternoon, and I put them up sometimes on Sunday afternoon. The Saturday one is up on Sunday. The Sunday one is up usually on Wednesday or Thursday, and then if I go hiking on Monday, which I usually do, that'll be up usually Tuesday. So yesterday I had one all ready to go. I was ready to go, and what I do, again, insight into the production of this video that you're watching. I always, without fail, I listen to the record moments before I do the video, so I'm fresh. I always sit outside on my balcony. The weather is nice, 363 days of the year here. So I sit outside, I listen to it. I've always, I always listen to it in the days before as well. Sometimes, I don't need to, but just to kind of motivate myself. And I did that yesterday, Saturday, for an episode for me today, Sunday. I know you're watching this on Wednesday or Thursday. And I sat out there and I listened to, I won't say what one it was, but I listened to a record. It's a band that I have talked about before. I've been going through their catalog. It's been a while since I talked about that band. Months and months, 6, 8 months maybe. And I listened to it. I was ready to go. And then I just totally, it was like the air out of a balloon. I just totally lost my mojo. I don't know if it was too hot or what it was. I had to go downtown yesterday too, and maybe I just felt like that was kind of, if I'd done that video, it would have got in my way. But so just one video this week instead of the normal two. I'm sure you're all very disappointed. So I'm going to talk about today for the first time Dio, unlike the one that I was going to talk about earlier in the week, which is Kiboshed or Kaboshed. I will talk about it at some point, but I'll save it for later. Today I'm going to talk about Dio for the first time. I did Heaven and Hell, the Black Sabbath record, in around Christmas. But I haven't talked about Dio, the band, yet. And today I'm going to change that. And here it is. All right, The Last in Line. And as you may know, when I talk about a band for the first time, I do a little bit of a more in-depth look at the band as well as the album, just to give my, I'm still not quite 100% with this throat problem that I've had for, I think it must be 3 weeks now. But just to give a little bit of perspective into, my history with the band, why I like them or don't like them, or for whatever reason. Also, I just like to talk. And so this, The Last in Line. Now, my history with Dio is a little bit murky. I was never a huge of the, let's, make the difference between Dio, the guy, and Ronnie James Dio, the singer, and Dio, the band. I always loved, and I still, Ronnie James Dio, the guy, is one of my favorite singers ever. I love his voice. And everybody, I'm sure, metal fans would say the same. But his music, both Dio as a band, and I love Heaven and Hell. Mob Rules I never get into. Dio, I never get into Rainbow either. I love his voice, but a lot of the songs or the records he played on, I didn't love them. I liked Holy Diva, I should say, and The Last in Line. I never got anything after that. I did see him live once. I saw him on I remember it was January 9th, 1988, and I forgot to get the ticket. I got my first tattoo that day, January 9th, 1988. Savatage and Megadeth were opening. Didn't care about Savatage, still don't care about Savatage, but I think a good part of the reason why I went to that Dio show was because Megadeth was opening. I was a big Megadeth fan at the time. And so I saw Dio on, that must have been, what was that album after The Last in Line? It wasn't very good. Whatever that was, that had Rock and Roll Children and Hungry for Heaven. Those were not very good. Sacred Heart. I saw him on that Sacred Heart tour. And that was it. And now going back to my, prior history with Dio, this one, The Last in Line, I remember the first time, and I could be wrong about this, but my first memory of Dio as the band was The Last in Line. I've talked many times about how I used to tape all these late night metal shows and, the Midnight Metal Hour and, Power Hour and things like that. I used to tape those all the time. I had so many blank tapes filled up with songs from there. And on some of these tapes, I had We Rock, The Last in Line, Evil Eyes, Breathless, Ice Speed at Night, and then I guess also some from Holy Diva, Stand Up and Shout, Holy Diva, the title track, Rainbow in the Dark, Invisible. I had those, but I feel like the Holy Diva songs on my mixtapes came after this, but it seems impossible that, because I did know Heaven and Hell, the Black Sabbath album at this point. I didn't have that until much, much later. But I don't know, and as I said, I was never into Rainbow. I think I didn't hear about Dio and Rainbow until, I don't know, quite some time after. So my Dio history is a little bit murky. All right, now also one of my first memories of Dio, it's one of these weird, stupid things that you remember. If anybody remembers, and if you're old enough, you remember, Kirk Desmond, I don't know if he still watches these videos or not, he would remember. Dallas would maybe remember. I don't know, Mike Pratt. I don't know anything about that guy. What a weird guy that is. But maybe he knows about Cream Magazine. I used to buy Cream Magazine in, I guess, the early 80s, before I started buying Circus and Hit Parader and Rip and Faces magazines, the real metal magazines, Kerrang! A little bit later, Metal Hammer in the mid to late 80s. I used to buy Cream, and before that 16 magazine, because Kiss was always on the cover. Tiger Beat. I don't know what else. I just had one, I can't remember. But I used to buy Cream Magazine, which I thought was great, because that was like really the first real music magazine I bought. And they didn't cover metal as much as I wanted them to. That was why I switched later to Hit Parader and Circus and things like that. But if you remember Cream, they always had funny captions. They had photos with funny captions. And the one that I remember, this must have been 82, 83, around there. There was a picture of Dio and making maybe one of his gestures or something like this. And it was a picture of Dio, and the caption read, Dio, Ronnie James Dio, hideous dwarf or great initials? RJD, I guess they're pretty cool initials. That's one of my very, very early memories of Dio, not of Dio, but of Ronnie James Dio, the singer. Yeah, so there it is. And this album, The Last in Line, I don't know if I ever had it at the time. This came out in 1984. And again, with that there's a song in here called Egypt, and in 84, it seems that everybody was about Egypt. Metallica had Creeping Death, and Iron Maiden, of course, had Power Slave. Dio had Egypt, parentheses, The Chains Are On, which I'll talk about. It's the last song on this record. I don't remember having this. I don't remember buying this or Holy Diver. I maybe had it, I did have it much later on CD, so I bought it in at least 1990. But I never had this, the record, as far as I remember, or a cassette. I didn't have very many cassettes. And I never fully, like I said, I had a bunch of them on mixtapes. So I never fully embraced this album. But I think it's a very, very good album. I think it's definitely should be considered a classic of this era. 1984 was a great year. Scorpions, Love at First Sting. Iron Maiden, Power Slave, Ride the Lightning was 84. What else was 84? Was Defenders of the Faith? No, that was late 83, I think. What else was 84? Exciter, Violence and Force. Rat, Out of the Cellar, of course. 84 is an excellent year for music, and I think this one should be amongst the classics from 1984. Yeah? So here it is, and I'll get to the track by track now. But before I do, I got the actual record I got at El Chopo a couple of months ago. And you maybe heard me complain and lament the problems with El Chopo, that everything is stupidly expensive. And this was no exception. I got this used at El Chopo. And I don't know how well you can tell, but it's not in, at least the sleeve is not in the best condition. You can see it's taped here. It's got quite a few creases and crinkles and lines in it. The back, it looks like it was never printed properly. I don't know how well you can see, but the printing looks a little bit blurry, kind of out of focus. It looks faded. It's Polygram Records. And the guy who was selling this wanted 350 pesos, which is just unbelievable. But when I bought this, I can't remember what else I bought from the guy. I think it was a Kiss single, I Was Made for Loving You, I think. A 7-inch single, and maybe there was something else. I bought 3 things from him. And one was going to be, I think this was $350. This was definitely $350 originally. I asked him, would you take $750 for all 3 of these things that I bought? It was something like that. So this was, I don't know what this was. Maybe this worked out to be an average of $250, which is still pretty expensive for a record that's not in the best condition. It's not nice to see Scotch tape on a record. And the inside, I don't know what the original inside was, because as I said, I didn't have this on vinyl at the time. I didn't have the record at the time. But it's the worst thing ever in my life when I was a kid, and remains to be the worst thing in my life now, is this opaque plastic. I just hated it. But there it is. So no pictures, no lyrics, no liner notes. The liner notes are on the back. So that probably indicates that the actual record, even at the time, probably didn't have liner notes, maybe it had lyrics. But there it is, and I think now, I think I am prepared to go through this track by track. The first song is We Rock! And I love the song. This is one of the ones that I had, as I mentioned, on the mixtape. Couldn't get enough of this song in 84, around, probably, I think it was the summer of 84. It was when I was really, really taping a lot of stuff and listening to it. I used to go camping with my parents, with my family in 1984 when I was 14 years old, and used to, I was listening to these tapes and then making them, listening to the radio, taping them, and then listening to the mixtapes while I was camping. And We Rock was just one of my favorite songs at the time. As I said, couldn't get enough of it. You see the faces. God, I'm blowing it already with the lyrics. You hear the traces of the things that they can be, but only we can see. They come for killing and leave it still. It seems the crowd was left behind. It penetrates your... So long, carry on. So long, sing a song, carry on. But we rock. We rock. Not too many bands or artists, I think, can get away with saying we rock, but I think Dio does it very well. AC/DC are the kings of saying rock in their lyrics, but Dio, very different than Ozzy on Ultimate Singing's We Rock, Rock, Rock. What was that song called? I can't remember, but not that good. Next is The Last in Line. Oh my God, to me, this is a real heavy metal. This album is a heavy metal album for sure. The Last in Line, the title track, I think, is one of my favorite songs of this era. Kind of forgotten, maybe because I never had the record. But oh man, The Last in Line, it had the quiet intro. We're the life without the tears. What's the opening line of The Last in Line? We're a ship without a storm, the cold without the warm, life inside that feeds, yeah. We're a laugh without a tear, we're a laugh without a tear, the cold without the fear. We are coming, and then that home, that great, that should be considered up there with Roger Daltrey singing Won't Get Fooled Again, and Bruce Dickinson's scream going into The Number of the Beast. But this, the Dio line, we are coming home. And, he sings this so aggressively. As I said, one of my favorite singers. And, when he sings The Last in Line, he's got that really kind of grit and gruff in his voice. I think especially on the last words of a lot of the songs, we're off to the witch. We may never, never, never come home. But the magic that we'll feel is worth a lifetime. We're all born upon the cross. We're the throw before the toss. Whatever that is, I love it. And I should say those great licks that Vivian Campbell has. Remember, this was, I guess, when this was Vivian Campbell's second album with Dio, when he was, I guess, at that time considered a real guitar guy. Like, people talked about Eddie Van Halen at this time, Randy Rhoads. Well, Randy Rhoads had been dead for a few years at this point. George Lynch, I guess, was also maybe around this time, Warren DeMartini, and Vivian Campbell was one of those guys. And then he, went to Whitesnake, and and then Def Leppard, and he just kind of got more and more watered down. But I don't know if people really have kind of forgotten how great Vivian Campbell was at this time. But anyway, The Last in Line, amazing song. Next is Breathless. No, 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 no. You said a single word. You said a single word, but no one really heard. Sometimes we scream alone. Great vocal there. These three songs are, any one of them could be my favorite song, although I think I would go with The Last in Line. And I should add, The Last in Line, the video used to get a ton of airplay. I don't remember it on the radio ever, except for on the metal shows or the metal stations. Metal shows, I guess. But that video for The Last in Line was on all the time. Next is I Hate the Light, I Speed at Night, Wall Right. Speed metal Dio. I loved it. This was another one at the time. I was into, this was 84. I was getting into, at this point, Metallica, Raven, Exciter, Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, not yet. Exodus, not yet. And I really loved hearing Dio do, this really fast I Speed at Night. Speed metal, I would say. Not thrash metal, but speed metal. That's an excellent song. And then the last song on side one is One Night in the City. This one, I never got into this one. I just, nothing really to say about that one. Unlike the next one, if you flip this album over, the first song you're going to hear is called Evil Eyes. And oh my God, maybe this is my favorite. We Rock, Last in Line, Breathless, I Speed at Night, and Evil Eyes. One of those is my favorite. I'm not sure which. How does Evil Eyes, what's the first line? Evil eyes, turn up the light time. Dun, dun. Turn up the lights, you'll see them anywhere. Da, 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 da. His face is the pleasure. They'll follow wherever you can go and take you to the places you don't know. Da, da, da. No. Yeah, I love Evil Eyes. Was I singing the right song? Evil Eyes, Evil Eyes. Evil Eyes is excellent. Next is Mystery. I like the song. It's pretty catchy. To me, this seems like it was a pretty obvious follow-up or attempt at Rainbow in the Dark, very keyboard heavy, more melodic than the rest of the album. This is a heavy metal album. Mystery it's not pop. There's no way it's pop. Dio's not pop, but it was very melodic, a little bit, softer, friendlier, more radio friendly. Some people I think would like to say it's always a mystery, not what it seems to be. It's okay, good catchy song, but and I just realized this has, God, I didn't notice this, in tiny print. It has the song titles in Spanish, so this is a Mexican version. I'll mention those at the end. I like to read the Spanish song titles. Just a couple more songs here. Eat Your Heart Out. This is another one I never really got into this. I think just Eat Your Heart Out and One Night in the City. We're not so great. I think I was turned off by Eat Your Heart Out because Dio singing You've Been a Bad, Bad Girl. It just, I don't know, man. Some singers can get away with singing You've Been a Bad, Bad Girl. But Dio singing Eat Your Heart Out, You've Been a Bad, Bad Girl. No, thank you. And then the last song is, as I mentioned earlier, Egypt, parentheses titled, The Chains Are On. I don't know why they didn't just call it The Chains Are On, or Egypt. Don't call them both. Pick one or the other. I like this song a lot. A great song. For me, it's pretty clearly, kind of again, just like Mystery was a little bit of a follow-up to, intentionally or not, was a follow-up to Rainbow in the Dark. And Egypt, parentheses, The Chains Are On, seems to me pretty much like, kind of like Holy Diver, which was kind of like Heaven and Hell. It had that almost epic feel, kind of a slow, plodding, feel to it. But I do like Egypt, parentheses, The Chains Are On. And that's it. Only 9 songs on this record, which is great. I like that a lot. Now, just going quickly through the Spanish titles, We Rock is Nosotros Rock. Breathless is, The Last in Line, El Último en Línea. I Speed at Night, Sin Aliento, which seems strange. No, sorry, yeah, of course. Breathless. What am I talking about? Breathless is Sin Aliento, of course. Ice Speed at Night is Acelere Nocturno, of course. And One Night in the City is Una Noche en la Ciudad. Duh. And side 2, Evil Eyes is Ojos Diabólicos. Mystery is Misterio. Eat Your Heart Out is Sufre en Silencio, like suffer in silence. And Egypt, parentheses, the chains are on, is Egipto, parentheses, las cadenas están puestas. So there you go. If you like literally translated song titles, as I do, I think they're kind of funny. I hope you enjoyed those. So there we go. This is not one of my favorite albums ever, but I do really like it. Good memories of being 14, listening to this record when I was camping. And beyond that, never got too much into Dio. But that is it. And this is Dio, The Last in Line.